Hello, this is Nick from the YouTube channel The Shogunate, and in this video for Clash of Katanas, we are going to be discussing the Shimazu clan, specifically during the Sengoku Jidai. The Shimazu of Kyushu are one of the most ferocious forces throughout Japanese history, but are specifically seen to have been tenacious during Japan's age of warring states. The Shimazu family itself can trace their origins to the Minamoto clan, and would long rule over the southern portions of Kyushu. And although the clan throughout the ages dominated much of the provinces in the southern portion of the island, bitter infighting during the early years of the Sengoku period would cause them to be confined solely in Satsuma. However, things would start to turn around for the family following the rise of Shimazu Takahisa, who was able to bring new stability to the clan. It was during his reign that Europeans would first come to arrive in Japan, landing initially within Shimazu territory. Over the coming decades, the Shimazu would come to profit much from foreign trade that now flowed through their domain. This would also cause the Shimazu to be one of the first adopters of Western-style firearms. In time, Takahisa would come to have 4 sons, who each displayed a high level of competence and military mindsets. These being Shimazu Yoshihisa, Yoshihiro, Iehisa, and Toshihisa. Together, they would all synergize to form a nearly unstoppable force. By the 1570s, Yoshihisa had succeeded Takahisa as the head of the clan, and it was around this time that they had not only solidified their position in Satsuma, but had also moved east into Osumi, subjugating the province from the minor lords who had inhabited it. Their next target would be to move up to Hyuga. Yet Hyuga would be a much tougher obstacle, being that it was defended by the Ito family, a more well-established name. The Ito and Sagara clan of Higo endeavored to take the advantage, striking first against the Shimazu aggressors. The Shimazu held firm against the heated assaults, and in 1572, in large part thanks to the ingenuity of Shimazu Yoshihiro, the Shimazu would crush the Ito army at the Battle of Kizakihara, a clash often remembered as the Okehazama of Kyushu. With the Ito military now in utter disarray, the Shimazu were poised to march north, conquering the province within a short number of years. However, this quickly brought the Shimazu face to face with the other titan of the island, the Otomo clan, who had long dominated northern Kyushu. By the late 1570s, the Shimazu and the Otomo were clashing heavily as the Shimazu war machine pushed north. The Shimazu winning important sieges and battles like that at Mimigawa, where the outnumbered Shimazu army under the command of Yoshihisa was able to defeat the much larger Otomo force. It quickly became evident that the Shimazu had the upper hand in the war, as the Otomo were continually driven back. By 1586, the Shimazu would come to dominate almost all of Kyushu. However, in an act of desperation, Otomo Sorin had pled for the aid of Toyotomi Hideyoshi, who was happy to intervene. In 1587, at the height of Shimazu power, the Toyotomi began an invasion of Kyushu. Facing a massive coalition against them, they were now driven all the way back to Satsuma, where they would at last surrender. In the aftermath, the Shimazu would be allowed to retain control over only Satsuma and Osumi, and Yoshihiro was to become the new head of the family. In the coming decade, the Shimazu would serve the Toyotomi faithfully, fighting hard and lending many troops to the invasion of Korea. And later, at the Battle of Sekigahara, they would remain on the side of the Toyotomi, joining with Ishida Mitsunari's Western Army. Although, at the actual Battle of Sekigahara itself, after what many believe was a disagreement between Yoshihiro and Mitsunari, the Shimazu would sit out of the majority of the fighting. In the end, when they were finally engaged, they managed to cut a bloody path off the battlefield and to safety in legendary fashion. Afterwards, they would be one of the final clans who would later bow to the new Tokugawa shogunate, becoming known as one of the Tozama outsider families, looked upon with suspicion and distrust by the shogunate and their loyalists. However, they would also be given clearance in 1609 to invade the Ryukyu Kingdom, a prosperous island nation that stretched from Kyushu to Taiwan. It would be here the Shimazu would launch a swift strike against the Ryukyu, which would succeed in bringing the islands under Japanese control. Eventually, a couple centuries later, the Shimazu family of Satsuma would be instrumental in helping the imperial loyalists overthrow the Tokugawa shogunate, ushering in a new era for Japan. But as far as their story goes throughout the Sengoku Jidai, their capabilities paved their way to becoming one of the most successful clans of the period, nearly coming to dominate all of Kyushu at one point. Yet although they were defeated not only by Hideyoshi in the 1580s but also by the Tokugawa at Sekigahara, they continued to remain a staple power in Japan, and are one of the most significant samurai families that still live on to this very day.